Blessings, everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Kanita, where I tell true crime stories and Bible stories. Today will be a true crime story, and this is another love gone wrong. Now, this story takes place in the UK, and trigger warning because there's all kinds of diabolical things that happen to this young man. So this picture here is Mark Van Dongen and Berlinah Wallace. Now, they met on a dating website for people with HIV, and they spent 5 years together. Now, co-workers sometimes would see scratches on Mark because of Berlinah's jealous outbursts. She would get enraged during fights, and even during one fight, she even poured boiling water on him. So by August of 2015, he had gotten tired of it. He had enough. He said, enough is enough. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of this relationship. The relationship was very toxic. The relationship was on again, off again. So he told Wallace, he said, listen, I don't want to be with you no more. I'm done. Enough is enough. So a little bit later after that, he did tell her that he was seeing someone else. Now, a month after that, Wallace, because they have this on again, off again relationship, they've been together for 5 years. They were a little toxic. A month after that, he announced that he was dating someone else. Wallace lured her ex, which is Mark here, to her home under the guise of rekindling their relationship. Like, look, we're gonna get back together, since they had this roller coaster of on again, off again. And so Mark wanted to reiterate to her, though, that he was moving on with his new girlfriend. Now, even though he told her he didn't want to be with her anymore, even though he told her that he was wanting to move on with his new relationship, he decided to spend the night there anyway. Now, that would be a fatal mistake on his part, because as he lay in the bed around 3 a.m. wearing nothing but boxer shorts, Wallace stood over him with a glass mug full of sulfuric acid. Now, before she poured it on him, she said, if I can't have you, no one can. And she poured it all over his face and his exposed body. Now, even before this incident happened, right after he told her that he was with someone else, she looked at 82 websites about the sulfuric acid. And some of the sites showed bodies scarred black by the acid. And then she went ahead and bought a bottle from Amazon. Now, after the incident, poor Mark ran into the streets of Bristol, and he was only, wearing his boxers. He was half blind, couldn't see. He was screaming. He got the attention of his neighbors. One of the neighbors said or reported saying that my doorbell rang a few times and I knew there was something desperate going on, and it was him. He said when he opened up his door, he said he looked like he was covered in a clay or some sort of mud, which he later realized that it wasn't clay or mud. It was Mark's skin melting off. Now, poor Mark is reported by some of the doctors and some of the nurses that took care of him at the hospital. He was reported with saying, kill me now. If my face is going to be left looking like this, I don't want to live. But it wasn't just his face. The attack ultimately left him paralyzed from the neck down. One leg had to be amputated. He spent 4 months in a coma. The only thing he could move with any real precision was his tongue. Now, Mark only could use his tongue, and he used his tongue to say Berlinah. And so on the night of the attack, they found this monster at home. She was sitting on the sofa, and when they asked her about Mark, she motioned to the glass mug on the floor. Now, she told multiple conflicting stories on the night and in her trial. She said that she bought the acid to distress some jeans and to deal with a bad smell that was coming from her drains. She painted Mark to be some type of abuser and saying that he was the one that was the aggressor that night. She even told the investigators that and the court that he tried to get her to drink the acid, saying it was water. Of course, these were all lies. And then she said he wanted to burn my insides. Now, she claimed that he tried to stop her from leaving the apartment and that she had to throw acid in self-defense. Why was the acid out? But of course, the sheets told the real story. They were blackened by acid only on his side of the bed, so they knew that she was lying. Now, in the years as Wallace was awaiting her trial, her ex-boyfriend, poor Mark, his suffering spiraled heavily. Burn patients, the burn is never over. They initially treat you, try to keep you from getting septic, try to keep you from getting infections, but that burn and exposed skin and those nerves are painful for years to come. So he spent months in intensive care, then more months in the burn unit. Now he endured septic chest infections, intense pain, post-traumatic stress disorder, night terrors. The muscle in one of his arms was slowly eaten away by the acid. It was paralyzed. He couldn't even scratch himself, and he was itchy, of course, because of the healing skin that itches. His father made an 800-mile road trip from Belgium each weekend to see him, sometimes sleeping in his car in the hospital's parking lot. His marriage had disintegrated under the strain, and he went bankrupt. So with the help of a family friend, though, Mark was transferred to a hospital in Belgium so he could be closer to his father. Now, for him, there were two benefits. His father could be with him every day, and also in Belgium, there's also assisted suicide that is legal. Now, poor Mark, doctors had told poor Mark that he had to get a third tracheotomy. Now, his father said it would help him breathe, but it would take away his voice, so he wouldn't even be able to talk with the tracheotomy. So the father even told the news, like, he knew he'd lose his voice, so what would he have left? Just pain and itching and another ceiling to stare at all day long. So Mark did apply for euthanasia. And a panel of 3 doctors ruled that his unbearable physical and psychological suffering meant that he was eligible. So on January the 2nd, 2017, 15 months after his attack, Mark Van Duggen did end his life through assisted euthanasia. Now, as for this demon, she was sentenced to life in prison, but she had to at least serve 12 years to be eligible for parole. So 12 to life. But after 12 years, she can be eligible for parole. So 12 years, she can be out after what she did to this man. And that's one thing about other countries and their laws. They're not as harsh as America. And I don't think she should ever have a chance to get out of prison. Mark did not deserve the death that he died. He did not deserve the pain that he was in his last days. His family did not deserve to see him that way. If you are ever in a toxic relationship, if you're ever with someone that's insanely jealous or abusive, once you get out, stay out. Don't go back. God bless you guys.